Okay, look, I've been doing some investigating into this Malcolm Jamal Warner thing, so I'm going to edit the two videos together. Looking into what I said about the Run DMC connection and the missing boys in places like Georgia and all that, right? The missing African American boys, how there's so many African American males going missing around a certain part of America, especially. Um, sorry, I've been eating and I have to get this out while it's in my head. So when I looked into the Run DMC thing with the murder of Jam Master Jay, he was killed by his godson. Miraculously, none of the cameras picked up anything, and the cameras in the building just happened to not be working, and there were people letting him in. So clearly, his murder was a setup. A lot of people were in on this murder. The fact that godson was involved, when you're talking about sacrifices, like Illuminati sacrifices and stuff, the killers are going to be for one of two reasons. Either because they were promised fame, like if you do this, if you sacrifice the person you love the most, we'll give you like worldwide fame to prove that's how much you want it. So they will sacrifice the person they love the most. And it's usually before like movies and albums and all of that come out, or get put in the works and that, because then they're given contracts and stuff at the end of it. Or it's because you owe money, you owe them a debt, and so they will get you to do like hits and stuff for them, to pay off your debt, and it's usually like drugs or gambling, addictions, that sort of thing. Now the interesting thing is, they were trying to say that Jam Master Jay's death was, a drug related thing to do with the Black Mafia family. But when I dug deep into it, I found a connection to P. Diddy. And remember when I was saying about, the missing boys and Epstein and Diddy, that, it will inevitably lead back to them? I've absolutely found a link. And it turns out the reason why Jam Master Jay was killed was apparently he refused to turn his back on 50 Cent. Which is why 50 Cent is such a outspoken, like he's out, he has every right to be anti P. Diddy. And remember what I was saying about the missing males, how they're quite sought after on the Diddy Epstein client list? There was talks of the reason why they were able to hide it for so long is because everything was taken underground. And remember, they have the underground tunnels and stuff. Remember, I proved the P. Diddy tunnels, and, Elon Musk helped the Boring Company and all of that. So there seems to be some sort of connection. The interesting thing is, with this Black Mafia family drug affiliation, is that while I have been able to find many, many, many references to the connection to P. Diddy, because apparently the two brothers had a falling out, because one brother didn't like the crowd that the other brother was hanging out in. He was obsessed with partying. And one brother keeps saying to the other, like, this is going to get you into trouble. I don't like who you're hanging out with. You're doing things I don't agree with. This is getting dangerous, like, blah, blah, blah. You're hanging out with people. You're obsessed with partying. That's Diddy. That sounds like Diddy. Now, the interesting thing is, while there's plenty of mention of Diddy and drugs and Mexican drug dealers and, smuggling across the border and fentanyl and all that sort of thing, there is absolutely zero mention of prostitution and human trafficking, which, when when it comes to drug smuggling, you don't get one without the other. And in actual fact, how do I say this? It looks like the Black Mafia family, the two brothers in that, were stitched up, possibly by the CIA, possibly by, because we all know that they run the drug trade, and like maybe they were told, I'm just like hypothetically, like we got to take this kid out, or we got to take this guy out. We need your help, and in exchange, like, we'll turn a blind eye or something like that. And so they did this whole thing, pinned the drugs on them, and then I think maybe they were done dirty by the feds, by the DEA, and it sounds like they were done dirty. The more I looked into it, it sounds like they were done dirty. I just find it very interesting that there is absolutely not a stitch nor a trace of mention of prostitution and smuggling. Human smuggling, the smugglers. Which says to me, they basically removed any knowledge of the situation from mention on the internet, which we know they do, so that when they threw these two brothers in there under the bus, none of it could be linked back to Epstein and Diddy. But there's so much links back to Diddy, and various things said in various conversations said with people that were there at the time, like, everything was taken underground. Everything was tunneled underground, was it? Something like that. Yeah, the more it starts to look like they were done dirty in order to take care of a problem. So either one of the people involved in his murder was a known drug dealer, so it's probably more often than not, from the sounds of it, it was done in order to pay off a drug debt. Maybe they owed money to the dealers. Maybe they were promised something in the record deals and that, because they had a record label, and they mixed with the Diddy circles and all of that, which would then link you back into Malcolm Jamal Warner and what he knew and what he saw. And the interesting thing is, the parts of the area where this crime family were known to own are where in the areas where a lot of these African American boys go missing, males go missing, like Georgia and Texas. And it's a lot when even people in the county and all of that are starting to notice how many are going missing, and they are taken underground, and they end up at the Epstein and Diddy parties and stuff. And I'm sorry, but you do not get Mexican drug cartels and drug smuggling across the American border without human smugglers and prostitution, because it's how they get everything across the borders. It's how they pass the drugs on. It's how they hook everyone up. It's through, the pimps and the prostitutes and all of that. So I just found it a lot. I've been searching and searching. I can't even find nary a mention other than P. Diddy. And it's like everything went quiet around the time people were starting to come out about Diddy, and then they got the brothers. It's like they threw them to the wolves. I swear they got done dirty by the feds. They got set up. That's what it looks like. And so, you know, they're all connected. And Malcolm Jamal Warner will have inevitably been mixing in Diddy circles and stuff like that because, you know, young, black, successful African American people, they hang out together. But it sounds like Malcolm Jamal Warner was one of the smart ones and knew to keep his distance. He knew to not mix in those certain circles. Same with like your Run DMCs in that. They took it so far before they chose to live just like normal lives. The ones that don't sell their souls to the devils are the ones that ever end up having the more distinguished careers. Like Malcolm Jamal Warner, I mean, he was such an articulate, perfectly presented, well-spoken, beautiful, gentle man who clearly had very strong morals and ethics in that, and he chose not to sell his soul. He said that himself. He could have, but he chose not to. Because after the Cosby Show ended, he had people falling over themselves to get at him to make him the next big thing. And he said no. Which makes you love him all the more, which makes it even sadder what they did to him. So I'm going to put links in the description box below so you can click on everything and see what I'm talking about. But there's definitely a link between Run DMC and what happened to him and Malcolm Jamal Warner. And the link that I seem to have found at this point is P. Diddy. And that's Trump, that's Epstein, that's all of them. It always leads back to the same people. And Hillary Clinton, CIA, Illuminati, like all, you're always in, there's always a way to link them and loop them and connect the dots. I'm telling you now, it always goes back to Clinton, it always goes back to Epstein. And P. Diddy is basically just African American Epstein. They have to have somebody working that side of the angle to win the trust of the African American people, because they don't trust white people. I mean, rightly so. They have every reason. So that's one of the things that Malcolm Jamal Warner was talking about, was how African American people, they're robbed of their culture, their everything they created, they're robbed of it, their creativity and that. It's the same with Indigenous people. I know what it's like to have your Indigenous stolen so that the white people can profit from it. So I know exactly, and they've tried to kill me too. So, you know, like, I understand. I get it. So now I've got to edit these two videos together and finish eating. I've been sitting here. I was not expecting to find all of that so fast. So I'll edit the two videos together and get this up, but it's food for thought. I'll leave links in the description box and make of it what you will. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō. Mwah.